I'm at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, where the Indigbo Cultural Society of Nigeria is hosting the 18th Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe Remembrance Day. His birthday was on the 16th of November, 110 years ago, and in honor of his impact as the first president of Nigeria, several dignitaries have turned up to talk about his impact and the state of affairs in Nigeria at the moment.
Honored to be here today, a day that would have been marked as the 110th birthday of a true son of Africa and one of Nigeria's greatest statesmen, the irrepressible, honorable Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, the Owele of Onitsha. I also feel deeply honored by the invitation extended to me by the Indigbo Cultural Society of Nigeria to chair this 18th edition of commemorative activities initiated to celebrate the life and times of the great Zik of Africa. It is therefore my pleasure to warmly and sincerely welcome everyone to this event that is both a celebration of a man of history and a touch point to examine issues of common interest to the generality of the people of Nigeria. Whether young or old, I believe that each and every one of us in this hall would have one thing or the other to say about the great Zik of Africa. This may be the result of direct encounters such as I had with him, or encounters like, as I said, encounters with him. This was in I'm very sorry that we haven't got any video to be able to show you what it is. My encounter with him during the difficult period of Nigeria's history, and we arranged to meet in Monrovia for a talk and to try to ask and to seek his support in order to win the Igbos back into Nigeria. And as it happened, his aircraft, as far as I was concerned, it was Monrovia that we were going to meet. But what happened, his aircraft landed in Lagos, and I was told that he was there. Well, that was it. And I think in this picture, I don't know how old I was at that picture, probably about 35, and he would have been probably in his early 60s. But there is roughly about 30 years gap between us. But I can assure you the respect between us is there. So, as I said, all of us would have opportunity, or if we have the opportunity, we can. And I hope you can also be able to show proof, yes, that you have contact with him, as I have in this little booklet, when Zik accidentally stopped over in Lagos for our meeting in Monrovia, and we were able to have a very good chat before he continued to Monrovia. So I had something to do with him. So as I've said, this may be the result of direct encounters such as I had with him, or encounters captured from books, or from some form of oral history of the nationalistic exploit of Zik that is handed down to our younger compatriots over the years. However, we come about our option of Zik. However we come about our option of Zik, one can safely say that there is or would be a common thread in our narration. If anything, that thread would be a strong belief in others before self. If this were so, then I doubt if Zik would have attained the height he achieved. If this were not to be the case, then we certainly would not have had any cause whatsoever to gather here today to honor Zik. Well, I'm sure as the keynote speaker at this event, my duty is simply to set the tone for our gathering here, not to tell us about Zik and his role and place in the history of Nigeria, which we all know. I easily recall one of my encounters with Zik sometime, I think in either 68 or 69, in the thick of the Nigerian Civil War. Now, of course, Zik had been, my commander-in-chief, had been my president and commander-in-chief. So I knew him since then as a loyal, officer, of the Nigerian Armed Forces, and he as my commander-in-chief. And of course, there are quite a lot that one can say, about that. And that loyalty continued until the unfortunate events of early January 1966. And after that, of course, with the development of events, he had to associate himself with the other side. But it does not seem as though his heart is with that particular program. But he went as an envoy to get recognition for Biafra in many countries like Tanzania, Zambia, Haiti, and many others. But really his heart is in Nigeria that he created. He helped along with others to create. And of course, having been born in the northern part of the country in Zungeru, you can sort of see the way and his political activities mainly in Lagos and the West, but in charge of a national, at that time the only national political party, the NCNC, you can see that all along his heart is there for his country. Now, although the war raged, the federal, just want to say this, the federal and Biafran sides still did not foreclose the possibility of exploring option for peace, and that is what Zik did. So this explained why both sides readily consented to the request by the then President of Liberia, William Tubman, to mediate in the conflict between us. Certainly contact had been made between some Nigerians here, Ukwabi Asika especially, and some of his envoys, and the great man himself in various parts of the, in the UK. And so it was agreed for us to be able to have a meeting in Liberia in order to find solution to give confidence to both sides to be able, to keep the country, one. So, as I've said earlier on, by some stroke of fate or luck, let's say providence, I would prefer to say providence. I'm sure that it is God that made that possible. Zik landed in Nigeria, in Lagos, at that time, on his way to Liberia. But that was not the arrangement. The arrangement was for us to meet in Liberia. And so I took the opportunity to welcome him, to say, please can we meet before you continue. And I had to assure the captain of the aircraft, of KLM Airlines at the time, to give him assurance that I'll return his passenger so that he can be able to, his important and precious passenger, so that he can continue with his journey to Liberia. And the captain, I don't know whether he graciously accepted my plea, and Zik came, and we had really an embracing welcome and prayer, and for God to help us, whatever decision we arrive at in Monrovia would be for the good of Nigeria. I can assure you that certainly did the trick, because when he continued on his journey to Monrovia, and I joined him in Monrovia, Liberia, the President Tubman said, well, since God had made it possible for you to meet, I think there is no need for any talk or discussion. We should only celebrate the occasion. And if I remember rightly, that was at the time that I ever first had pink champagne. Pink champagne when we had dinner the following night. Question of discussion. Our meeting, as I said, was predicated on the need to get Zik to help measure the Igbo, to reassure the Igbos that there was no plan to wipe them off the map, but to be part of a greater Nigeria which they will be able to help do so. Since the Aje Ukwabi Asika, a young Nigerian Igbo of Igbo descent, who sacrificed his reputation for the good of the people of Igbo land and Nigeria. Although this was not fully appreciated at the time, I would like to beg all Igbos to value the contribution of that young man for the unity of the country. And part of the reasons why whatever we tried to do, certainly it was not done out of hatred or dislike, because if we do that, then we'll be really hurting his confidence, the confidence that he has in Nigeria, and yet we start to do something that is wrong. It is one of the reasons why I gave strict orders and instruction that whatever happens, don't call them enemies, but as we say, misled brothers and sisters. And I think the highest insult I can show up on that group that was against us is not enemy, because if it's an enemy, he will destroy at all costs. But I think I just said rebels because they were rebelling against the federal authority which I was in charge. But at the end, we said, whatever happened, we've got to make sure that we do not do anything that will totally destroy the trust and confidence of the people to wish to remain in Nigeria. And I thank God that at the end of it, yes, we were able to embrace one another as brothers and sisters and try to restore the normalcy that there was. And I think the reconciliation that we achieved in Nigeria, I want to say this: a lot of the credit goes to the Igbo people who wanted to try that promise that I tried to make, that they are brothers and sisters, and that we want to remain together. Because if they had refused to give that trust and confidence, we might not have been able to end the war at the time we ended it, and to be able to embrace one another the way we did it. Reconciliation, which is second to none in the history of any civil war anywhere in the world. And therefore, a lot of the credit will go to the Igbos for accepting, after what had happened, to be able to embrace a reconciliation with their other brothers in the other parts of the country, and we were able to move on, with reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction, and the economic development that took place, soon after. So I would like to say thank you for that trust, and thank you for making sure that it brought about the reconciliation that reunited the nation, for a purposeful, progress, above. However, today we celebrate Zik, who, at a very young age, locked firmly to his vision of a strong, united nation. The famous Zikist movement that was founded on his leadership philosophy helped to signpost the ideals of a people who wanted to break the yoke of servitude imposed upon them by the colonial masters. Zikism was largely a philosophy built on peace, yet so strong in the determination to achieve a desired end, which was independence for Nigeria and the institutions of democratic ideals that would hasten the development of our nation and promote the well-being of our people. The quality of followership that Zik gathered across the nation bore eloquent testimony to the fact that he was a true national figure, born in the north, eastern by ancestry, Western by politics, it was not until after independence that false lines began to appear across ideological platforms in Nigeria. This was when ethnicism became a card that politicians wave without let and without regard to the unity of purpose and people that won us independence. The extent to which things had degenerated manifested in the carpet-crossing saga of the era in the West. This had not abated even in the Nigeria of 2014. Today we have politicians, with apologies to Korokoro, we have politicians who have become rebels within cause or creed and who cannot be pinned to any ideology, quite unlike Zik and other political heavyweights of that time. If we cast our mind back in the times, to the times of our old national anthem, we sang, "Nigeria, we hail thee," with pride, knowing that practically every word of that anthem counted for something that defined us as a people. We recognize our diversity, which was the rich source of our unity. That was the reason we sang, "Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand." Now, I do not understand why that anthem was changed. And I can assure you I'm one of those who strongly feel that, okay, if that change had to be done, why don't we keep the true national anthem? That is the one that I know. That was the one that I saw by. That was the one that I saluted. And many of you here who were young children at school, you are one of them, waving that flag, waving that flag, and really making me feel very proud and committed to the well-being of the young people for the future. Now, honestly, I don't know why we cannot, in respect for our the forefathers who really accepted that song because it meant a lot for Nigeria. And, well, I'm trying to be democratic to say, why don't we have the true national anthem? And wherever it is played, we know that it is Nigeria. It is Nigeria. So there it is. And in honor of this memory of our forefathers, I strongly believe that that should be the case. And I'm delighted. Thank you very much for volunteering that information. It spoke, as I said, that national spoke to the root of the issues that today hold us hostage. It suited every purpose in national life, and it gave respect to our forefathers who fought for our independence. Time indeed has come for us to reflect on the lives of our forefathers as we seek to hasten the dawn of an era in our nation. We need to ask, what did they live for? What ideals did they die for? Was their perception of a united Nigeria exclusionary or all-inclusive? Was their nationalism based on perceived benefits of natural resources in their place of birth? And I said the reason why Zik probably put University of Nigeria in Nsukka rather than in his hometown. Were they overly concerned with parochial interests or personal stomach infrastructure? Or were they driven because they needed to promote the common good of the citizenry? Was their faith a tool of division or an instrument of peace to bring all together? Did they ever promote banditry and mindless violence, especially to the vulnerable, or did they see themselves as vehicles to truly bring about change in our society? What manner of change did they advocate, and what manner of change has the current crop of Nigerians imbibed? We need to ask questions. We may think that the age we are in now in Nigeria calls for speed, but the truth is that the age in which people like Zik and his contemporaries lived was more in hurry than could readily be imagined. But they wanted to do it in peace, in a democratic setting. I believe and hope that this gathering will reflect on some of the questions that I have raised here. But doing this, I also believe would help to put the annual commemorative event for Owele Nnamdi Azikiwe, organized by the Indigibo Society of Nigeria, on course as we all seek answers to various questions that border on the unity, development and prosperity of our dear nation, Nigeria. I think I've talked enough, to give time for other speakers. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to end this address by once more thanking the organizers of this colloquium, as well as all participants who are in attendance here. Thank you. Now, I don't know whether I should make this observation. I thought there are more women than men in this gathering. Am I right? Well, at least I can see all the girls and more the girls than all the crown and the cap that I have. Might be because they are not wearing red caps. That's why. So may I say thank you all for coming.